Let's connect with the management then and find out what the road ahead looks like, as well as what we're going to see across the therapies business and the United States business, as well as India. Umang Vohra is the Managing Director and Global CEO of Cipla, who now joins in on the show. Thank you so much for taking time out. Let's begin by talking about the India business, because that saw a steady 13% growth on a year-on-year basis. What has aided growth in the quarter gone by?
I think on the India growth numbers, we are looking at strong momentum in the base portfolio. And that has continued. I think our bigger brands are doing better. We've reallocated resources to the bigger brands. There's been growth there. We're also seeing a lot of volume growth in tier 2 to 6 towns as healthcare begins to expand. Actually, a large portion of the volume growth is beginning to come from towns in the interiors of India. So we've repositioned resources to focus on that. We've repositioned resources on our key branded franchisees in India. And I think the consumer business is also doing significantly, very strongly. So if you look at all these three items coming together, I think the India growth has very strong base numbers. Our COVID portfolio actually degrew by almost 16%. So the base portfolio has clearly taken it forward.
The US business too has seen a strong growth, nearly 15%, and the growth in the US base has gone to about $150 million. Can you talk about the kind of growth that we've witnessed, and has it largely been led by the respiratory business?
Yes, I think one could say that it's our respiratory portfolio where market share gains are giving us this output. I also think that the December quarter always has a little bit of bunched up sales, because that's the buying pattern in the US. Because the US market, that there's holidays in the first 7-8 days of January, so we do see an uptick in the December quarter. But obviously, our franchise in respiratory has delivered quite strongly in this quarter, and I think we're now at the range of 145 to 150 million in the US market.
Umang also wanted to understand, will you be accelerating the US business in FY23 as launches continue?
Yes, I think the US is very responsive to launch momentum, because pricing erosion continues every quarter. And if the quarters we don't have launches, we feel that even more. So our launch momentum is going to be fairly significant in the next year, and more so in the second half of FY23. So yes, I think hopefully this will add to our base going forward in terms of just launches adding to this number.
Right. Your South Africa business, as I look at it, has posted a surprise on the positive side when it comes to the growth numbers that you've posted. What propelled the same?
Yeah, I think the South Africa, what we track in South Africa is actually we disaggregate the market into private and tender. And the tender is linked to government buying broadly. The private market for us has always shown a huge growth, and we've actually beaten market over the past, I would like to believe, 5 years, quarter on quarter. And we've done the same this year as well. The private market is up very strongly at 16%. In South Africa, the congestions happened in the tender market, and I think there are patterns of government buying that respond to budget that's there within the country, that respond to aid that they receive from outside of the country in terms of portfolio of medicines, in terms of the buying agencies supporting the various governments. So I think there's been a little bit of a shift in the last 6 months that we've seen in South Africa. And at the same time, we don't think this is permanent. We do think the tender market always responds to pricing, but it's not a permanent feature. We're actually going through a new tender cycle in South Africa, similar to the one we went about 3 years back. And I think that there will be some shifts, but it will resume back to the way the market was originally.
Right. So would it be fair then, Umang, to say that all therapies in India post-COVID have actually picked up?
I think the base portfolio, we were beginning to see a very strong base portfolio return to, most doctors were practicing, and actually more than they were pre-pandemic. And then the Omicron hit, and then we went and saw a little bit of that being corrected. I think it's going to come back very strongly again. I think there are lots of patients who are seeking treatment and have probably not sought the right treatment in the past couple of years. So the doctor practice and I think the medical fraternity, we see it coming back even more strongly. The hospitals are still very, very crowded. And so I think there will be volume demand in India. We have to be conscious of the fact that our base numbers into next year will include COVID numbers, which may not represent next year the same manner and the same quantum. So it's been lower than the previous year already in this year. And I think the next year will still be lower on the overall COVID number. But our non-COVID portfolio will track a higher than market and will respond to strong volume growth.
And what about the pricing pressures in the US in the last 2 to 3 quarters? Has that abated?
I think the pricing pressure will continue. This is the nature of the US market. It's structural, and I don't think we can go against it. It's a response to competition. It's a free market. More players enter, prices fall. Actually, at the beginning of the pandemic as well, I don't think there was an abation. The pricing power never really abated for the channels. For example, I don't think the companies like us had tremendous pricing power, but I think the channels were more conscious about making sure that they had product rather than try and push the pricing down. So we saw a temporary halt there. But I think by its nature, we've responded to pricing pressure now over the last two to three quarters quite significantly. And I think this is the nature of how the US will continue going forward. So pricing will be there, but your launches are expected to offset that.
Thank you so much, Umang, for joining in and sharing with us the outlook on the US business, the India business, pricing pressures, as well as where you see business headed.